Hello, and welcome to Read the Last Page,
A yap session
book club.
with your two favorite long distance best friends.
The book we read this month is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, which was published in 2015 and is the first book of a massively popular duology.
In 2018, we read it separately, but this month we decided to read it together. It has since become a staple of our friendship, and since we've now read the last page, let's talk about it. Hi, B, how are you?
I'm good. As you know, I don't have AC in my apartment. So I actually ordered a window AC unit today because it was that hot. I couldn't stand it any longer.
Girl,
So that's that's how I am.
actually, when you're living on your own kind of for the first time and you're making all these big purchases and you're like, this is such an adult purchase. Buying your own AC actually is.
No, literally. And I had to buy a 3-year warranty for it, even though I'm probably only gonna live in this spot for 1 year. But
I think a lot of
anyways,
houses in on the East Coast don't have AC, like centralized AC.
It's like the norm.
Yeah, like that's how my house growing up was, and I didn't know that until my mom told me like a year ago. I was like, "Well, our house had AC." She's like, "No, we didn't." Like,
that's so funny.
yeah.
Anyways, despite that, I'm still rocking the cardigan. But
Queen, I almost did. I almost did. Wait, do you want to show it
yeah.
off? Oh, I don't know if you can. As far as
I can't stand up because I'll tip everything over. But
yeah. Love.
Here, can you hear that? It's the Tortured Poets Department.
Can you hear that?
Okay.
That's so good. No.
And how are you, Dan?
Oh, I'm good. I had work today, and so I got home and I ate lunch, and I'm all lunch. I actually did eat lunch because I didn't eat lunch at work, and so my dinner was my lunch, which that was my fault. But anyway, I'm home alone right now, so I know I can be as loud as I want to be, and no one will be mad.
Slay.
I know, so excited.
My roommate was like, the last thing I want to do is like be in the way of you recording. I was like, girl, you're fine.
Girl, I told you this, but I love how your roommates are so in the know, and my roommates know nothing. I'm nothing.
Surprise!
I'm nothing.
Surprise, Danny's roommates.
I'm just a secret keeper. I don't know how to stop.
Yeah. Okay, so I think the first thing we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Within Six of Crows is Juiced.
Wait, okay. Do we kind of maybe want to, before we get into it, talk about our lore with this book?
Okay, yeah.
So we both read this back in 2018, which the book came out in 2015. So we were kind of on, we were here before the crowd. It's a very, very popular book now. And we did catch the earlier waves of it. But yeah, I think I read it first and then I told you to read it. Yes?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the book has, some weird magic power in it, to which, we both became so obsessed. And so it's to the point where, we have not touched this book in 6 years, but the amount of times we bring it up is crazy. We talk about it all the time.
That's so true. That's so true. And what's crazy about this book is there's it's a whole different world, you know?
Yeah.
For those of you that have read it.
If you know, you know.
There's a ton of world building in it. And so it's we would talk about it all the time, but it's I didn't necessarily remember what we were talking about.
So true.
But I remember the feeling the feelings that I had when I read the book. So I got it. When we talk about it, it's oh yeah, I remember. But it's but could I really tell you?
It's so
the plot?
true.
No.
It's we really do have maybe 5 in jokes that we wrote. And we're Juice is one of them. And then no, literally no mourners, literally no funerals. Literally on my journal. Oh my god, that's so cute.
No mourners, no funerals.
We love. But yeah, so this is a really big deal for us, I feel to be revisiting this world.
Yeah.
The expectations.
Such a good idea.
I know, right? The expectations were so high, though. If you really think about it, I don't think either of us really thought about that going in. We were just oh, and it's gonna be great, and it was. But
it was.
But it was just I love that this book was able to hold up from being teenagers when we read this to where we are now. It's just a good book.
Yeah.
So
it's yeah, because I guess the main characters are all technically teenagers. Aren't they all like 17 and 18?
Yes, and that was such a weird thing to like read, because when we read this, we were literally around their age. And now I was like obsessed with like Casbrecker as like it's like my little tiny self. And now I'm like, oh, that's like a that's he needs help. My poor boy.
Yeah.
That's a teenager who needs help.
Like a little boy, literally.
Yeah, truly.
But speaking of little boys,
yes.
Juice
had 2 problems. The moon and his mustache. Is that
so?
Well, okay.
Justice for Juice.
So true.
Okay.
So true. Also, before we actually fully get into it, we should say this is gonna be very spoiler filled. Like,
yeah.
If you haven't read Six of Crows, and you really want to, like, if for some reason you have not heard anything about this book before, like, we highly recommend you go and read it. It's
and then come back.
It's so good, like, so great. And then you can come back, and read it. But if you don't care, then, like, this is your one and only warning. We will be spoiling so much.
Kind of the idea of this is, like, we want to talk about books after we've read them.
Yeah.
So the whole plot is, like, fair game for us to talk about. So
we're basically it's just gonna be, like, a thing where, like, as if we were just hanging out and talking, but we just hit record on something. So it's like, sorry, you've been invited. So I hope you know what's going on.
Yes.
So that's the one and only warning we'll give for that. We can get into Juice now.
Okay.
Yes, our king.
So, so in the 6 years of between the first time reading it and now, I love, like, the Juiced memes, because it's like, what was the point? What was the point?
It's so true.
But this time when I read it, I feel like I understand part of why it's there, because I was really trying to look for, like, what is this chapter for? Because I just remember being so confused by it the first time I read it. But later, the characters see Juiced after he's been, like, under the effect of one of the Grisha.
Is it?
Oh, and if I say anything wrong,
do not
like,
come
if
for
I
us.
pronounce anything wrong, like, that's between me and my book. But like, is it Grisha or Grisha?
I pronounce it Grisha.
That's so weird. I pronounce it Grisha.
It could be that. It really could be.
No, it literally could be.
You know what's crazy?
Anyways.
I've literally even watched the show.
Oh,
I've been
I
hand
never
feeded.
watched it.
I've been hand feeded. Yeah, that's a word.
But okay, so here's my theory on why we have the Juiced chapter.
Yes.
Since each chapter is, like, a different person, I feel like one thing about it is, like this could have been, like, Juiced's story. That's hard to say. Juiced's story. Like, it starts out his story, but then, like, the Grisha under the, oh gosh, I'm so embarrassed to say these words out loud. Jurda Perem.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's it. That's how I do it.
Like, that, like, ends his life. Like, he had this girl that he wanted. He was, like, it was his coming of age time.
Yeah.
But his story gets cut short by the effects of the Jurda Perem, which is kind of the theme of the whole book, is they're trying to stop that from happening. And so I think part of the point of that is just to, like, set up, like, this is what's happening in the time and place. But it's like, I feel like I'm not, like, getting the words out the right way that I want to say them. Like, he could have had so much more to his life, but, like, and I don't know, do we know explicitly, like, I don't know if he actually is, like, killed, but
yes, he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then that goes with my point more than, like, his life is cut short by this, and that's why it's so dire for these 6 to go on this mission, because that could be happening to a lot of people. You know what I mean?
I love that. I think there's, like, because, okay, so I've recommended this book to a lot of people over the years, and the instant feedback for the people who, like, have not finished the book is that this is a very hard chapter to kind of be thrown into because Juice has two problems: the moon and his mustache. It's really like what's going on. There's like a lot happening, but also not a lot at all happening. Like you don't understand what's going on. And I think it's such an interesting way to have Juice, this character that we never see again. Kind of like a lot of what you were saying, but he sets up like the main dilemma for the novel. We find out 2 chapters later with Kaz's first chapter like what really happened, and I think that's like a really great way for Leigh Bardugo to not fully info dump in that chapter with Kaz when like Van X kind of like laying out the whole heist for him, because then
so true.
It would be so much. And so it's like one thing that Leigh Bardugo does, which I'll bring up again later, but like she's really good at dropping clues so that way once things are revealed, the audience, the reader feels like they're there, that they've been picking up on things, even if like they would have never guessed this to be the outcome. Yeah. So it's like she gives us an insane amount of information in that chapter with Kaz, but we already know the main important stuff. Like we're already familiar with the scene of the crime. We're already familiar with how dangerous this drug is. We understand how it works, what it looks like. The only thing that Leigh Bardugo has to do really is like fill in the blanks and tell us the specifics.
Yeah.
And so, so it is a hard chapter, but like once you understand its purpose,
it's actually kind of genius to me.
Literally, this book is so good.
Yeah, and I think because I think the first time like I read it, it was like I'm being thrown into a world that I know nothing about, so that already was confusing. Yeah, and then it's like, oh, okay, we're rotating through characters' perspectives. So I'm just like waiting and waiting for Juice to come back more. Yeah. Which like I guess maybe I didn't pick up the first time that he wasn't gonna come back.
Yeah, so this is something I picked up in Kaz's chapter. He talks about a dead body on the ground with a mustache.
Yeah, it's him.
Yeah, and it's Juice. And I remember texting you, and I was like, I did not remember that he found Juice's body. Like, that is so sad.
Oh, I literally wrote, it's going to take me too long to find it, but, like, I literally wrote in there, I was like, Juice! Like, justice for Juice.
Justice for Juice. And it's true. Because what's crazy is, like, we've been saying that for years, but, like, not believing it. And now, actually, justice for Juice.
It's like, wait, actually, we were onto something. Literally.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I was going to grab a pencil, but. Okay, so I took notes.
Yes, love. We love notes.
That are based on page numbers. So, like, and I know you took a lot of notes.
Yeah, we have a Google Doc if you see me scrolling.
What's your... My first... So I didn't start taking notes until you mentioned it, so I was already a good way into the book. So my first one is on page 195.
Okay, well, I'll read along.
Okay.
This is my book.
Story
time for real.
Something that I wanted to point out here was, okay, so something happened, I don't even remember, but Jesper expected... Oh. So Inej takes Nina's face between her hands and said, "Thank you for keeping me in this world when fate seemed determined to drag me to the next. I owe you a life of debt." This is probably when she's on the ship, like after she'd been hurt from the whatever, and she's like literally on her deathbed basically. Yeah. And Nina like fixes her, and so what I wrote here is like Inej is earnest, like she is being so for real about this, and because at the beginning of this it says Jesper expected Inej to laugh, and he was startled when like she took Nina's face and was like, "Thank you for this," and I said Jesper may not fully appreciate the bond of girlhood. No,
I love Nina and Inej so much. Yes,
there's like so many moments where it's like, this was for the girls that read this book.
Oh my God, you're so right. I think, and it's so interesting too, because it's like there really is only 2 female characters, like main characters in this book. And it's like, I just love their bond together so much because it's almost like so natural. Like the first time they interact, you just like immediately, like they have like this very like warm chemistry toward one another, and it's just like they're always like looking out for each other. They like understand each other on a deeper level that like than the boys ever will.
Right.
It's just so nice to read, and I love those girls.
No, I completely agree. And I just like loved and I love Jesper, but
Mm-hmm.
he really, I feel like, is kind of always like everything's a laugh.
Yeah,
You know what
girl,
I mean?
when we get into Jesper, I have theories.
Okay,
Yeah, don't worry.
okay.
Don't worry. We can come back to him. But yeah.
And then while we're on that topic, I wrote down another page for Inej and Nina. I just want to.
Oh yeah, go off.
Let's see. Page 431 for anyone following along at home.
Oh my god, I know exactly what you're about to tell me.
Oh my gosh, okay. Wait, why does it take me so long?
431.
I wish I had little tabs like you. Inej had made countless alliances in Ketterdam, but few friends. She rested her head against Nina's shoulder, blah blah blah. Or that I'm going to die in agony, blah blah. Nina pressed her cheek against the top of Inej's head. Tell me something good anyway. Just like, they're so...
It's great.
Sorry that I just hit my
It's great.
microphone stand, but...
No, they're also surrounded by... So whenever I think of like certain pairings in this book, obviously you want to kind of look at the romances. And so I think a lot about Nina and Matthias, and then Inej and Kaz. And Matthias and Kaz are very kind of cold, hard to warm to male characters. And it's just like, then it's like you can see how much those two girls crave just like immediate warmth and like immediate companionship with one
So
another. And so it's like,
true.
if they can't get it from them, they're obviously getting it from each other. And
From the
it's-
besties.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yes. Okay, that's so true. I hadn't even thought about it like
Yeah,
that.
I love it. I just love it. It's so
Love.
good. But okay, wait.
Love.
Am I allowed to go back to the beginning with
Yeah.
Inej's first chapter? Because I was
Yeah.
I was putting on my English major cap a little bit, and I was really, really like, I love that Inej is the first crow we meet. Like, this is technically for me, even though Juice is the first chapter, for me, Juice is like a prologue, and then Inej is really where the story starts.
Yeah.
So, I think that it's so smart. Once again, I'm gonna say Leigh Bardugo is like the smartest writer in the world 1,000 times in this, but like,
Yeah.
I love that we start with her POV, first of all, because I think she's my favorite character to be in the head of. I just love every chapter of hers. It's so good. But basically it's like, you know, like we start off the chapter, we're going through like this night with like, we're meeting this rival gang. It's really high tensions, whatever. The plot does not start in this chapter. The plot starts basically with Kaz in the next chapter. But this
Right.
chapter, we need to kind of meet the crows and get to know the crows and understand the characterization. And so Inej, the Wraith is what they call her.
Yeah, I think.
And her whole job in this little group is like she watches and she reports details. And so the whole point of like starting this book with her is so smart to me, because she's just cataloging and characterizing and describing things so much. So immediately, like the very first line of her point of view is Kaz Brecker didn't need a reason, and then we like go into what people like in Ketterdam say about Kaz. Like, he's like dirty hands, and this is how he's walking down the street, and this is how he's handling himself, and he sees her up on top of one of the houses, and then we meet Jesper, and like there's like so much characterization just dropped easily into this chapter, and it's like we would not have been able to get that if it was from Jesper's point of view, from Kaz's point of view.
No, you're so right.
It's just so
I had never
good.
thought about that. Because, like, we need to, like, I feel like, okay, beyond the Juice chapter, it's like we need to immediately start knowing who these people are.
Yeah.
And Inej knows who everyone is because she's, like, so observant and she's in the shadows and she's going to pick up on everything.
It's so good.
That's so smart.
And then it's like, what else is amazing about this chapter is like we get our first like kind of reveal of the book, which is like nobody knows what's going on. Inej does not know what's happening in this meeting. Kaz has been keeping nothing, like he's been saying nothing to them. And then we find out that like one of the characters has basically been selling out the crows, or Kaz.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you get really scared for the crows, because I don't even know if they're considered the crows yet. Are they considered the crows right now? It's like the Crow Club, but like
Yeah.
I just
I think so.
consider the crows just the 6 of them. But Anyway, I think they're called like the dregs or something.
Oh, right.
But so
Yeah.
basically, like, one of the guys in this group out there with them, like, sold out the dregs for, like, his own greed. And they're meeting a rival gang. The gang pulls guns because it's been a setup, and we get scared for a second. And then all of a sudden, everything goes in Kaz's favor. Like, we find out that, like, Kaz has been pulling strings in the background.
And he's always one step ahead.
Exactly. And it's like this is the like, you know, if you know anything about this book, when you're walking in, you know it's a heist book. And so I think getting like a very, very mini kind of like reveal like this is like the perfect way to get you like really excited for this book, because you're like, oh, so Kaz is big brained and he's wicked smart. He's
big
big
brain
brain for real, and he's like scheming all the time, like genuinely. And like, I think it's just, realistically, it's so smart to hype you up as a reader to get like this very small taste of like what's to come, because then like the reveals, they don't stop, they keep coming. Kaz is always 3 steps ahead. So,
and then like, so to jump way further ahead, then when things like actually, so things, when they get to the ice court, some things go wrong, but Kaz is that quick, he already has another way to fix it.
Yeah.
But when it goes wrong enough that he's like, I don't know what we do next.
Fear.
Then you're scared.
You're terrified.
Because it's like, this never happens.
No! It really...
He always has a plan.
It really does.
And if he doesn't have a plan, like...
Oh, screw that. Like,
yeah, like...
no one knows. No one knows what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
No, literally.
It's so good. And, like, it's like, I just love Kaz being known as, like, the plotter of this book. Because then also it's like, every time we're in a major like plot heavy chapter, aka the next chapter, where we learn all about Jerda Parem, and like Bol Yul Bayer, I think is how you pronounce his name.
That was good.
Thank you. I just pulled that out, really.
Good. I would have to look at it to say it.
Yeah, no, I feel like, I don't know. I just want to say Kauai or Kauai, because like that's like who we know later. But anyway, but then like we have this major plot heavy chapter, and it's like we needed to be in Kaz's head, because the whole time he knows exactly the right questions to ask. He's already scheming. He's already putting the pieces together, and it's so good. And again, back to Inej, like it's so good that we had this observer to give us great characterization in the first chapter, and then we have the plotter to move the plot forward in the next chapter.
Yeah, and like whenever we start learning about Kaz, it's like, well, I mean, Kaz is great on his own, but like he would not be able to pull off what he does without Inej. There's
a really good quote. I don't even know where it is, so might not be anything. But there's like a great quote in this book where Kaz is aware of that, and he mentions that. And it's like toward the end when Inej, spoiler alert, sorry we're jumping around like crazy, but like Inej is captured. And he says something about how like, if he was like the mastermind of the group, Inej is the one who holds them all together. And it's so true, because like and it's like, we lose Inej at the very end of the book, but the second she's gone, you feel the shift. And it's like, it's just all the boys sitting around, like Nina's not even there, and you're like, well, what are these dummies gonna do? Literally.
Yeah.
Literally. So they need each other for sure, for real.
No, literally. I wanted to talk about how much I love the little bits of humor also, because I feel like this book is so high stakes.
I know, like we need the humor.
Yeah. Whenever they're making the deal, and he's like, one of them's like, okay, like whenever we get back, like just give me dessert for life. And they're like, dessert for life? I'm not sure that seems equitable. And then they're like, well, I expect really good waffles. Like,
they're so funny. That one scene,
like,
you sent me, I think you sent me a text of it, but it's like, my ghost isn't gonna associate with your ghost. That whole exchange is so funny. Like, it's like they banter with each other so well when they're allowed to, and it's like, it's just like, like, I love those moments of like humor because you're just like, oh my god, like you're so attached to the dynamics in this friend group, and it
Right.
really,
And like they're kids, like
I
they're
know.
teens,
Hmm.
you know? And especially that one when, because it's Matthias saying, like, my ghost is not going to associate with yours.
Yeah.
It's like, at that point, he's still super new to the group. And so he's like so annoyed by them and just like, he doesn't really want to like engage,
Hmm.
but I love that he does. And
Hmm.
he's like, well, my ghost's not going to associate with yours. Like,
It's so
it's
good.
so funny.
I love it. I just love it. I know. I feel like I'm really excited to read the next book because I feel like they're just gonna get closer as a group, and I want more of those moments. I'm just so
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah. The other one that I wrote, well, I can't say this word.
Oh,
I can't say
that
this
word.
word on the air. I actually just can't say this word in general. Okay, I'll just go to this other
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
But I love when someone's like, they're talking about how much money they're gonna get.
Hmm.
I'm gonna pay someone to. Okay, I think Kaz is like, we're gonna have so much money, like, if you're cold, you can just burn. Do you say Krug?
I think it's pronounced like Kruge. Like you have to kind of put
Kruge?
the e at the end, but like it's very subtle.
Kruge?
I think.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I think.
Krug. But Jesper's like, well, I'm just gonna pay someone to burn my Krug for me, and then Kaz is like, well, why don't you pay someone else to pay someone to burn your Krug? And then that's what the big players do. And then Jesper's like, you know what the really big bosses do? They pay someone to pay someone to pay someone. And it just like trails off. And I just like,
so
I don't know.
good.
I just think I like that little witty, like, goofy, when they're goofy with each other.
I know, me too. I think, okay, so I think I just really want to get into the relationships because
Yes! And you know I have tons of things to say.
I literally, the relationships in this book it's just so good because very rarely do you read a book and they're all coupled. They're all coupled up.
Yeah.
And it works so well.
Yeah, and all the dynamics are like
Perfect.
so different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So true.
Um,
Silly. Well,
who do we start
okay,
with?
so what? Okay, well, since we were just talking about Jesper and his humor, kind of in a way, I have theories. So one thing I'm a Wyland and Jesper truther. When I read this book when I was younger, I like they are my favorite couple. I like walked out of the book being like, yeah, they're my fave.
That makes so much sense.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, like in a sweet way.
I know.
Like,
I know. But so one thing that I love about them is like it's like one is kind of like a cocky, annoying, using humor all the time kind of guy, and the other one's like scared of literally everything. It's such a good dynamic because they balance each other out so well. But I like how Jesper toward the end he kind of becomes like Wyland's cheerleader in a way, and it's like a very lovely slow burn.
Yeah.
It's just like when it's revealed that like Wyland's father is like a jerk, and he's like Jesper gets like really angry, and it's like one of the first moments you see him upset like that. I'm like, it's so important to like see these different shades of Jesper because he is somebody who is very like he's like a happy-go-lucky guy. Like he's gonna keep the energy up, like the mood light. But then like you realize that he deeply admires Wyland, and like even though at the beginning he's like so annoyed with him, he's like, you're obtuse, you're naive, you're whatever. And then like toward the end, I think personally, here's my theory about Jesper. So Jesper I think is a character who like loves to escape. Like he's huge into escapism. Like he lies to his dad about college. He leaves his farm. He escapes his past. He gambles in hopes of getting himself out of debt. All these things. And I think he also puts on a facade of being like the jokester of the group to escape kind of realities of his situation and like kind of the fact that he's a criminal and like always in danger. And then I think he meets Wyland, who's just like this really naturally good and innocent person who's like pretty much untouched by the dregs and like Ketterdam. And I think like Jesper really wants to like protect that, and he's drawn to it in like a very like crucial way because Wyland is escapism in like a physical form for Jesper.
Yeah.
And
no, that makes sense.
I know, and I just love them. They're so cute.
And so when you said like he kind of becomes his cheerleader, I literally just read this today when I finished the book.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, I know I underlined something. After they, like, spoiler alert, after they tailor Wylan,
Yes.
to, like, look like Kuai,
Yes.
where is it? Because I'm pretty sure this is Jesper's chapter. It's like he's like a nearly perfect replica of him, blah blah blah, but he has Wyland's voice, mannerisms. Oh, actually, this is Kaz's chapter, but I don't care. I'm gonna read it anyway.
Go off.
Though Kaz could see the fear and hurt in his eyes, blah blah blah. Okay, so he had Wyland's voice, his mannerisms, and Wyland's surprising courage too.
Yes.
And so, even though we were talking about Jesper and Wyland, I think, like, in general, it's really nice to, like, towards the end, all of the crows, like, really come around to him.
Yeah.
Even Kaz, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, he sees that Wyland does have courage, even though in the beginning they're all kind of like, oh, this stupid rich boy, like, you know. I just love that.
I know. And also, it's either that chapter or the next chapter, we get my favorite line of this book, which is Jesper gets really upset at Wyland for changing his face. And he said, why? What's the problem with me changing my face? And he goes, well, maybe I liked your stupid face. And to me...
Yeah, it's right there.
Do you remember? This is some lore about our friendship for the peeps who don't know. We love to change our Twitter names to things that we believe are pairings of each other from our favorite media. And so there was a point where you were Jesper on Twitter and I was Wyland Van Sunshine. And we used those as our bios. Like, we used that quote as our bio, I believe. Which I think is very adorable of us.
We're so besties.
We're so besties. We're never beating the couple allegations on Twitter, unfortunately. Because we do stuff like that.
No, I love that, though.
I know.
I was trying to think if there's anything on them that I want to talk about. You know me, and you know I want to talk about Nina Mathias.
No, I want to hear everything that you have to say about this because, like, so you know this. The people don't know this. But when I first read Six of Crows, I was not a huge fan of this relationship. I think it's because it's really hard for me to warm to a cold, broody guy who's like just really, really honorable. Like, I'm like, I'd rather have like a silly, goofy person to kind of fall in love with. But I feel myself changing a lot of my original opinions. But I want to hear what you have to say because as an OG Nina Mathias truther, you have more to say for sure.
I'm a Nina Mathias truther. Okay. And what's so interesting is there's something about them that reminds me, I think I texted you, like, reminds me of Kylo Ren and Rey in Star Wars.
Girl, yes.
Which I don't ship them together, just for the people out there.
Oh.
I don't ship them as a couple, but I do ship them. I'm doing quotes.
Yes.
If you're listening to this and not watching,
Yes.
I ship them as a, I don't know what to say. I don't, friends isn't like the right word, but like working together and being on each other's team.
I think they have like incredible dynamics to the fact that you want them just to be on the same side. Like, you need them to have a relationship, maybe not romantic though.
Exactly. Okay, so here's the thing, is I think that I really appreciate a really good, what's it called? Character arc.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so I made some notes here. Where did I write this? Okay, 380 to 381. Let's see if there's anything specific in here. Okay, so this is when they're like with Jarl Brum, which is like
yes, I forgot about this.
Mathias's like commander, kind of.
Right.
And so he's like, oh, I had the witch tailor me, as in Nina, and Brum's revulsion was obvious. You allowed her to, and then Matthias is thinking. He says somehow seeing that response in someone else made Matthias ashamed of the way he'd reacted to Nina. And this is where, like, and from there, I think that's, like, he's slowly been coming around for most of the book, but I feel like this is when the change really happens. And in the next, like, a couple pages later, he's realizing, like Nina had hurt him, but she'd attempted everything in her power to make things right. She'd shown him that she was honorable and strong and generous
Yes.
and very human, maybe more vividly human than anyone he'd ever known. And if she was, then Grisha weren't inherently evil. They were just like anyone else, full of potential good and bad. And just, oh my gosh. Also, okay, to me, like, I find a well-written arc like this, like, just to be so good. And I think, because you remember, like, I was obsessed with Kylo Ren.
Yes.
But not, like, I mean, personally, I feel like not in a weird way. Maybe it was a weird way.
I don't think it was.
But, like, or, like, I love, like, in Harry Potter, like, Draco Malfoy, like, in the end, when he's like, I have to do this, but you can tell that he's, like, so terrified to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, we might be reading between the lines a little bit too much in that one, but, like, I truly believe, like, he didn't want to do that and blah, blah, blah. And it's, like, something about that is so, like, compelling to me, and I feel like, again, Leigh Bardugo, genius, does such a good job in this. And I think that I love Nina because she's kind of out there, and, like, she'll just tell you how it is, and, like, she's like, yeah, like, I just do things right, like, you know, which, if anyone has known me for a lot of my life, like, unfortunately, I used to have a little bit of a, superiority complex, I think. But I've gotten so much better.
Yes, queen.
Trust me. But, like, I like that about her character. And then I also really like Matthias's story.
Yeah.
From, like, being so loyal to realizing that what he was loyal to was not good.
Yeah.
And not, like, fair. And coming around. And so I think that is why I like their relationship so much, because I just love Nina. And I love Matthias' story, and I think I really love that Nina, like, never gives up, like, seeing the good in him and seeing that, like, there's something redeemable there.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And even the other characters, I feel like, see it too. Sometimes, like, Kaz tells him, like, he, like, reeks of decency. And then when I read that, I was like, that's such a Kaz way to say things. And then, like, way later, he does something. Kaz and him are talking, and Matthias is gonna go do something noble, basically. And Kaz is like, decency, like cheap cologne. And it's just, like, I love that, like, callback to, like, something he said earlier. And so I think that is, like, it's, like, less about, like, loving, like, their romantic moments in the book, which, like, I mean, yeah, like, I like them, but, like, it's more just, like, I just love, I don't know, I just think, okay, and here's the other thing, and I'm not finishing any of my sentences here.
She's so excited. That's okay.
I also wrote, like, on page 384, oh, that's where I am. Okay, basically, whenever he comes to the like, prison cell that Jarl Brum throws Nina in, and he's, like, standing out there, and you think, because Nina thinks that he was, like, conspiring against her the whole time, and he's gonna, like, torture her, basically. It's like, I've read this book before, and I was like, wait, was he, like, bad this whole time? And I'm like, surely not, but I'm like, wait, but this is so convincing. And I think that is the genius of Leigh Bardugo, is that I genuinely was like, I can believe it either way.
Yes.
And that's what made it scary. And it's like, I feel like that's a little bit hard to pull off. Like, because he could have just been bad the whole time, and it's like, oh yeah, everything was just a lie. But it's more complex than that, and I think that's harder. But because he wasn't bad the whole time, he was actually pulling one on Jarl Brum. But you as the reader and Nina, like, you can't tell. In that moment, you can't tell. Even if you've read it before. And, like, I think that is incredible. And that is, like, his character is so, he's fighting his own battle so much.
Yeah.
That, like, you know that it's a battle in him, so you know that it could go either way. Does this make sense what I'm saying? Like,
yes, I agree 100%.
Like, when I was reading that, and I couldn't even remember, even though, like, it has been 6 years, so I forgot a lot of stuff, but I was like, have I been played this whole time? So, yeah, and I just think, like, I just love that Nina, like, finds a way to, like, have compassion for him.
Yeah.
And want him to, like, make it through what he's going through.
Yeah, I think I like their story so much upon reread, because Leigh Bardugo does not let up with these two specifically. It genuinely, consistently putting them through the ringer. I think, well, first of all, Matthias's first line is, as if you know, you know. Matthias was dreaming again, dreaming of her, which will come back to bite us in the butt, but that's fine. But it's like, I love a relationship where both people haunt each other in a way, which I think this goes back to Kylo Ren and Rey in The Last Jedi specifically.
Literally, with the Force calls?
Yes, don't even. Not us getting into Star Wars. But what's crazy is I can only tell you stuff about ships in Star Wars. If you ask me anything about plot, I don't know. But anyway, yeah. And so it's like, these two people knew each other for 3 weeks, and over those 3 weeks, deeply, like, had to rework who they are as two separate people because of their immediate attraction to each other and, like, pull, and just, like, I think they bring out the best in each other, and they've done that almost immediately. And it's like, to then have done all that character growth in the 3 weeks, and then just to be kind of, like, proven wrong, you know? And, like, Matthias feels incredibly, like, betrayed. Nina is, like, really, really guilty about, like, what she had to do. And then it's like, they have to start fresh, but they still have this crazy pull. And, like, the whole story in Six of Crows is, like, them trying to fight the goodness that they pull out of each other because they think it's safer than whatever else they have going on.
So
and
true.
It's like, it's just so angsty. It's crazy to read. It truly is. I just love it.
There's one more thing that I wanted to bring up about Matthias.
Yes, go on.
And that is that the thing that makes his character work so well, like, one of the things I think also is that he is loyal.
Yes.
And, like, that doesn't change.
Yes.
And he's loyal to, like, his cause.
Yes.
But when he sees that, like, the man he's been loyal to, Jarl Brum, is, like, had been lying to him about, like, what they were doing with the Grisha they were capturing and stuff, he realizes that, like, that's not a good thing to be loyal to. And, like, so but he's still loyal to, like, his morals. He just realized that he was directing them the wrong way, which I think is a really, just really amazing story. And then the other thing was, after all that kind of goes down, he says, he was a true traitor at last, and he should carry the burden of it. And I wrote, like, his loyalty to suffering for a cause. Like, he's so loyal. Like, he can't just let himself, like, he can't just let himself, like, say this is the right thing to do now and la la. He's like, you know what, I need to carry this burden because I was loyal to something and I'm turning against it, and I have to face that every day.
Yeah.
You know? But it's like but it's like suffering for a cause to him.
Yeah.
But it's like nobody's making him do that.
No. You know what I love about another thing that I picked up on Matthias and Nina is they're both, I think, the reason why they work so well is because they're incredibly loyal people, and it's like you can really, if you want to, kind of pick apart Nina's character and be like, well, is she really loyal? She like betrayed Matthias, which we have reasons for why she did it, but like she's very loyal to her people. And throughout the book, you see her become so incredibly attached and loyal to the Crows to the point where she takes the drug at the end to save them, even though she knows that it's like there's a very slim chance she's going to be able to come back from that. And it's just like first of all, the parallels between every time this happens to Matthias and Nina, where they basically like come together then fall back apart, and it's like,
yeah,
the pain is crazy. So yeah, just great job, Leigh.
Speaking of parallels,
yes, I love a parallel, you know.
Yes, there's one. La 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 la. Okay. So this is gonna transfer us from Nina and Matthias to Kaz and Inej.
I love, yes.
On page 436, they're like basically saying goodbye, Nina and Matthias, and she's like crying and she says, "Stay."
I have that underlined.
Like, stay till the end. And that is parallel to, what is the other one I wrote down? At the end of the chapter before, I think. No, there's Inej's chapter. The chapter right before, which is literally one, like Nina's chapter is one page. Yeah. So it's like one page back. Is when Kaz and Inej are talking.
Is it the same exact two lines?
He says, stay with me. You know? And they're like, I thought that was really interesting to see, like, right after another, like, these people are, like, pleading with the person that they want to be with, like, stay, don't leave.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh,
but
that's
it's like,
good.
Nina, like, has to go do whatever, and Kaz, like, he just can't come up with, like, anything worthy enough to like make himself worthy enough for Inej right now, you know?
It's so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. You're so right. Like, it's genuinely these two people, or these two couples who want so badly to be together, but like something's standing in the way, and it's like basically it's like they both lose as far as right now.
Yeah.
What we know.
Right. We got another book.
Yeah, we got another book. You know, it's fine. You guys.
It's like I don't remember anything.
I'm so excited then for us to read this next book.
Yes.
But yeah, no, Kaz and Inej. What did Leigh Bardugo put in that ship?
I said yup.
Obsessed. No, but genuinely, I love this relationship. And I texted you when I was reading their first few chapters in this book. Mm-hmm. And I said that I love, personally, that they see each other outside of their most protected states. And so one thing that makes me absolutely crazy is the fact that Inej can never sneak up on Kaz. Kaz is always aware of where Inej is. Like, there's a line, page 309, if anybody wants to find it. But
sure.
Basically, it's like it's after we get revealed to, like, about Kaz and Inej's first meeting at the menagerie, and Inej sneaks up on him, and he's like, what? Like, I literally did not hear you. I mean, he would not say that, but, you know. But, like, he's really kind of shocked. He's like, you have bells on your feet and I didn't hear you. And then of course, like, she joins the crows, all that stuff happens. But anyway, there's a line in which Inez says it was as if once Kaz had seen her, he'd understood how to keep seeing her. And so he's like, I know, don't even. He's like always like, he knows where she is and no one else knows. No one else can do that. And then it's like, on the other hand, like, it's like Inej is the only person who ever can like see Kaz without his guard up, without his armor. So it's like we get it in the physical sense in that first chapter when he's just stripping in front of her and she's like, this is crazy.
She's like, dude.
She's just like, literally, can you what? But then it's like also later on, there's that line which you made the meme over and sent it to me, but it's like she immediately questions why Pekka Rollins is so important to Kaz compared to the other.
She like can tell.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and then Kaz, it's like that moment is so important because it's the first time Kaz really like is vulnerable for the first time with one of the crows. And it's like we don't even know a whole lot about his backstory with Geordi, and like we're in his head, and so it's like that's how protected he is. And so with Inej, it's like they just are able to see each other and get to each other like beyond their most protected states, and it's so important to me.
And let me tell you something. Her voice had brought him back from the dark. It had been the tether he gripped and used to drag himself back to some semblance of sanity. Is that not Percy and Annabeth vibes?
Oh my god, girl. This is so us. We're like having 5 references that we're constantly going.
I hope everybody consumes all the same media that we consume.
Sure they do. I'm sure they do. Luckily, it's none of our niche ones.
When I read that, I was like, dude, like her voice, which is like a big part of her, obviously. The tether he gripped and used to drag himself back to some semblance of sanity. Like, a tether, like, that just made me think so strongly of, like, of the Percy Jackson books.
Yeah.
How she's, like, the tether for him to reality. And I was like, yeah, like, Inej is his, like, lifeline in a lot of ways.
It's so true. She really does, like, the idea that Inej is always the thing that keeps him grounded or like pulls him back. It's like we see it too in that one scene towards the end when he's in the river outside of the ice court and he's drowning and he's having these memories of like what it was like for Geordi to die, and like he was basically using his brother as like a raft to get to shore, which is really harrowing. But but like then it's like this floodgate is almost opened and he's like just thinking about Inej, and he's like thinking about Inej's voice, thinking about what it was like to first meet her, what she was wearing, and then like there's this beautiful scene where she's like in his room at the club and like feeding the crows, and he's being snarky with her, being like, you shouldn't feed the crows, and she goes, why? And he looks up and he's like literally caught off guard because he's like, she's just like sitting in the sunshine feeding the crows, and like he's like, oh my gosh, like so real. But
and Nina later saying that she can like feel his pulse change every time he looks at her.
Girl, I love it.
He's so down bad.
Literally. But it's just so good. I just love them, and it is like he thinks he's dying, and the fact that it would be so easy for him to fall back into the cycle that with his PTSD of like being in that river with Geordi and like thinking he was going to die, and he's there for a second and he's actually drowning, and all he can do is think about Inej, and it's like that is literally his tether to the world. Like, it's crazy.
And I think also like thinking of his PTSD and wearing the gloves and stuff, you know, I just have to bring up the line at the end. I will have you without armor, Casbreaker. I will not have you at all. Yes. Or I don't know if I said exactly right, but I really appreciate that Inej, because Inej has always been a strong character, and I like that she stays strong till the end, and she when Kaz asks her to stay, it's like she's considering it, you know? And she's like, "Well, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but like can I actually have you? Like can we actually, you know?" She's like, "I can have you without armor or not at all." And I like that she is like, I have something that's important to me, which is like going back to her home and finding her parents, or no. That's like what she dreams of in her head, but like getting her own crew
Yes.
to sail or whatever.
Yes.
And it's like that's what she wants. But she also wants Kaz.
Yeah.
But she only wants Kaz if Kaz is going to let her have him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that she is like direct
Mm-hmm.
and gets to say like, okay, well, but this is what I want though.
Yeah.
And that Leigh Bardugo didn't just like have her be like, okay, Kaz, like I'll stay with you.
I know.
You know, like
Mm-hmm. I know. I remember when I first read it, I was almost annoyed at Inej because like I like obviously we know Kaz and we understand why he can't communicate with her about what he wants. He's literally physically incapable of doing it. But then like upon this reread, I was like, oh, it hurts so good because it genuinely would not have worked out if they had things to overcome, and if like Inej just said yes and from there they just started some type of relationship, it would have fallen apart. Like we need those barriers to be taken down. So yes.
Something else I really love about them, this is like so random, but how Kaz like never makes her get like the crow's tattoo. And like everybody else has to have it, but he like he's so like protective of her, like because she already had like the menagerie tattoo or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like, if you don't want to be inked again, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know?
I know.
And I'm like, it's
so small but so important.
Yeah.
It's really great. It's again like that thing where you know he's understood her from the very beginning. And like even though he's he can be a kind of cruel guy, like a lot throughout this book, to Inej even sometimes, but like he understands where there are lines and like his body and like space and like what he can control about himself is very important to him, and like he extends that to Inej like so nicely, and I just love that. Yeah,
and I thought it was really interesting in when she has to climb up the shaft.
Yes.
And she puts his gloves on.
Yes.
And she was talking about how like it felt like she was like really invading his space and like being in his room or like something like that. And I was like, that's such an interesting like imagery. And I wonder like if any of the characters have ever thought about like what would it be like if I took Kaz's gloves or something, you know what I mean? Like I don't know.
That's so true.
I just had forgotten that happened, and when I read it I was like, oh yeah, I bet that does feel really weird, because even like putting on, I don't know, I feel like sometimes putting on even just like your friend's shirt, it's like, oh, like this is your clothes, you know what I mean? Like I don't know.
You're so right. I think it's first of all, that scene is crazy. You're so scared for Inej the whole time. When I was reading that, I was terrified. Like the visual of looking down and you're like climbing this incinerator, which is boiling hot, and seeing that your shoes are melting, and like she talks about how she's just like blending together the melting rubber or whatever of the shoe, and then her skin. It's horrible. Sorry. Really gross.
No, it's okay. No.
But like
this book is kind of graphic
sometimes. I know. There was a lot of times where I was like sick to my stomach. That scene was one. Kaz's backstory really, really hard to read. And then anytime too they're beating up anybody, I'm like, bruh. Bruh. But
the Grishas that they found.
Yes. Yeah.
Like on
spikes,
or whatever.
Yes.
That was like horrifying to read.
Yes. Yeah, Leigh Bardugo can write a really gross scene, but use it for purpose. I don't think any of them were used just willy-nilly.
I think it shows. Yeah. It makes like the one with the Grishas, like it makes Nina's like, because then she like blows up on Matthias. Like, oh, and your people, you really think that like, And I'm like, I feel like that was a really important moment
Yes.
for them to have.
Yes,
So.
I agree. It's so important. I don't know how Leigh Bardugo did it, but she somehow made like the perfect mix pot of like of like high stakes, incredible character development, great plot, and like this world, this like new world, exciting world. And like it's all so perfectly done. Like the dominoes fall so perfectly, and you can't have one thing without another. It's just
something
so
I was
good.
thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Something I was thinking about is like you always talk about that, like what's really important for you in a book is that the characters are like really, really good.
Yes.
And that's really important to me too, but I feel like I sometimes am more likely than you to read a book that's just like fun adventure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just like, oh, fun, cool plot.
Yes,
you know,
yeah.
they're doing something crazy. This book is the height of both.
I know. That's why it's so good. It's so fun, and yet you're feeling things the whole time. Like it's genuinely so great. Yeah, I just love it. I feel like we should talk about maybe the ending a bit because we're reaching the end of the episode, and so maybe it would be a good time to wrap up as far as our feelings for how this book ended.
Well, I'm okay. Even though I'd already read it before, I did not remember what happened.
Yes.
I was so shocked. Well, okay, I wouldn't say so shocked, but when they went to that little island to get the money, I was like, surely something's gonna go wrong,
for sure.
right?
Yes.
But I did not remember that, like, they took Nina wherever.
Mm-hmm.
Nina and someone else.
So it's supposed to be Nina and Wylan, but of course, as we find out, Wylan is fabricated. Is that the right word to use?
Right.
To look like Kauai or Kauai. I don't know how to pronounce his name,
Uh-huh.
but and so basically, like they're on this boat apparently, supposed to be, and Van Eck comes, of course, and blows up the boat and like wreaks havoc. Basically, just wants Kauai, I think. Yeah, he wants Kauai.
Yeah.
And so I think that this reveal is so good because it puts everything in motion and also fills in the blanks for things that we didn't even know were blanks. Like my whole thing reading this, I was like, why does Wylan not have a chapter? Why does he not have a POV? Like, this is so weird. He's introduced to us kind of like...
Wait, the way I literally didn't even know it.
Girl, see, this is the thing. This is what, like, Wylan being my favorite character. Don't even... like, I was like, where's Wylan? And where's Wylan? But, so, he doesn't have a point of view. He's introduced to the crows, like, just like Kaz just drops him and he's like, this is Wylan. He's our demo guy, like, whatever. And then at the end, you realize... And, like, also Jesper's, like, dropping these really interesting things where he's like, I haven't seen Wylan in days. He's helping Nina. And Kauai just comes and stands next to me on the boat, and he's really quiet, and it's so weird.
Yeah.
And then we find out that it's because Wylan is Kauai, and they're doing
tailored.
They're doing it to tailored. That's what I needed. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. And they're like trying, because Kaz smelled a rat and he knew that Van Eck was going to be weird, and so he was going to use Wylan again as bait.
And once again, Kaz is 3 steps ahead.
He's just so smart. I can't. But yeah, so it's just like, I love it because it's like the reason why we didn't have Wylan is because my guy can't read. He's also
True.
Like, and also it's like if we got his perspective of him being tailored, this would not have been a reveal to us.
Yeah.
We're also in Jesper's point of view, I think, when it all comes apart. Either that or we're in Kaz's, but anyway. And Jesper's the one who's left in the dark. And so it's like we need to be also left in the dark while also picking up on clues that we don't even know we're picking up on.
No, literally. Yeah, and I did guess it because but I think it's because I'd read it before.
Yeah, right.
So I think like in like half a page before the reveal, I was like, wait. Is that Wylan? but I think I only guessed it because I've read it before.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was like it unlocked the memory.
Yeah.
But up until this far before the reveal, I was like, what is going on? But what I was gonna say, like, in general though, with the ending, it's like I know that there's a second book, and I knew, like, okay, this one's gonna set up something.
Yes.
But I didn't remember that, like, this business is not finished.
No.
Like, you know?
No, it's like, what's crazy is, like, you really do feel like the heist is wrapped up. Because you're like, well, okay, like, we're in and out of the ice court. We got the guy. Everyone survived. We're fine. No. Like, and not only that, but actually everything's much, much worse because Inej is gone.
Yeah, no,
Nina's
literally.
AWOL currently. We don't know what the effects of this drug is going to have on her. Kaz and Jesper have this really awful moment that hurts my... I think Kaz is so mean to Jesper, and we understand why more in the next book, but, like, every time he's mean to Jesper, I'm like, bruh, you have to be kind to my boy. Like, it's like he's obsessed with you. But it's like, Kaz no longer trusts Jesper, and if you're going to go on a second heist to get your girl back, you need to trust everybody on your crew. It's fine. Anyway, things are in chaos. But that last line of it, Kaz's, it's so hard. When he's like, I'm going to get my money, and I'm going to get my girl.
I'm gonna get my girl!
Bro. It's so good. It's actually really great.
Yeah. No, he's so... And he's down in bed.
Crying at the gym.
Like, I don't know. Crying at the
club.
Crow Club? I don't know. But... Yeah. Yeah. Next book, here we come.
I know. I'm literally so excited. Don't even get me started. I feel like, I don't know. I just, again, me and Laura have a lot of fond memories about this book. Not a whole lot, but, like, we did remember a lot of key points. Crooked Kingdom, I think we're both going in really blind. Like, so we don't remember a whole lot for some reason. Like, I remember a couple, but, like, it's mostly character moments because, as Laura said, I love a good character moment. But
yeah, I feel like I mostly just remember Wylan and Jesper stuff.
Really, I remember a very great scene between Kaz and Inej.
Okay,
I think you do too, if you think about it.
I'll have to think a little bit hard.
It's really great.
Because I think, I feel like we made our names Wylan and Jesper when we were reading Crooked Kingdom.
Aw, did we? Wait,
I think so.
Sweet if that was true.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so then one thing that we want to do in this podcast type thing that we're doing here, is we like, me and you, we're really, really good at creating, character pairings for things that we like.
Oh, yes.
As you can tell, like, we're obsessed with placing ourselves in the narrative. So, so probably for every book, we'll probably be casting ourselves as a certain pairing, just based on our vibes. And I think for this one, as we've already mentioned, we're kind of giving Jesper and Wylan vibes, but I think personally, we're more Inej and Nina.
Yeah.
Which, like, I don't know, who are you and who am I?
What? I feel like I've got to be Nina.
Yeah, you're right. No, but here's the thing. It's like, Inej is very nimble, and you're a dancer, my girl. So it's like...
True.
So, like, when I was reading it, I was like, I could never climb an incinerator, but maybe Laura could if she's given the right point shoes.
What? Those things would melt faster than the rubber. They would just
yeah.
No, but I feel like you're more Inej in the, like, observant.
Okay, true.
Like I feel like you notice a lot of things. You know what I mean?
That's kind.
And I feel like I'm like Nina in the sense that I'm like, I think in the second book she says, well, I'm here and I'm effervescent.
Oh, I forgot about that line. That's so good. Yes, that's true.
Like that, in that way.
That's true. Yeah.
And, like, yeah, I just feel like she's kind of silly like me sometimes.
She is pretty goofy. And, like, also, though, I think she's goofy, but then she, like, knows where her heart is in a way. And so, you know, like, it's like, she's like, if you step out of line, I will call you out on it.
True.
Yeah, so I love that. Okay, well, nice. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about before we wrap this up? Do we need to bring Taylor Swift into it, or should we leave her out for now?
We sang a song.
We
Down
did.
Bad.
Down Bad. Down Bad is so Casbrecker at Anesh.
We'll probably talk more Taylor Swift in the middle of the month.
Yes. Oh, that's
Um,
so true.
At our catch-up hangout sesh.
Yes.
But until then, if anyone is listening and wants to read Crooked Kingdom with us, hopefully you already read Six of Crows.
Please.
Or hopefully you can finish 2 books by then. But
Yeah, hopefully we sold it for you.
yeah. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good.
It's
5
really
out of
great.
5 stars for me.
Me too. Wait, and you never rate things.
And I never rate things, but this one's so easy. 5
Out of 5. 5 out of 5. No, it's like
No
reading,
notes.
reading it is like, wow, it's just so good. It really is so good. I genuinely don't have a single note.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
This was a
Okay, well.
yeah, this was a really great book for us to start this off on.
Yes,
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah, for sure.
The best. Okay, so now do we have to wrap it up?
Yes, let's wrap it up.
Okay. Well, then, thanks for listening to Read the Last Page. And we're hopefully going to have music and illustrations in here. So if they are in there, just know they're by the wonderful Sage Morgan.
We're gonna be back for our book club the first Wednesday of June. So make sure that you read Crooked Kingdom if you want to follow along to get all of our silly, goofy references.
But before we get to the last page, though, we'll see you in 2 weeks for a catch-up episode where it's just besties talking. For now, we want to say bye from B
And Dan.
Bye.